For the first time. This is probably the first time you're seeing my face. So, hello. As you enter, the video is being live recorded, and for that reason, your audio and video has been muted. But the chat rooms are open. And we have the chat rooms open because we want you to ask questions if you have them anytime throughout the. We usually do these talks, these new patient orientation talks, on the first Wednesday of every month. We used to do them in person, but due to COVID, we've had to transition to this online platform. All right, not as great as in person, but it's okay. This talk is not going to be long. It's going to be roughly, 18 to 20 minutes with the 5-minute question and answer time at the end. If you have any questions during the talk, please feel free to ask them. Okay. Now, we highly encourage all patients to, attend this talk to better understand essentially what chiropractic is and how the adjustment can make changes to their body. Tonight, I'm going to really introduce some new ideas, and you might have a paradigm shift about what you think about what health really is. And hopefully along the way, you learn some really good, helpful information. Right into it. So for tonight's agenda, we're going to cover this 4 main topics. They're going to go by pretty quick. So first, we're going to talk about your wellness journey, what every patient goes through during the healing process to get out of pain. Then we're going to talk about what chiropractic is and how it's defined, and what is it that chiropractors do. Then we're going to talk about subluxations in your spine. Most of you should know exactly what a subluxation is, but we're going to revisit that. It's pretty much misalignments in your spine that can lead to an overall decrease in function throughout your body. And lastly, we're going to talk about what to expect while under care. Here's a quote from B.J. Palmer. B.J. Palmer is known as the developer of chiropractic. He made a huge impact on the profession. He said that medicine is the study of disease and what causes man to die. Chiropractic is the study of health and what causes man to live. Essentially, what he really meant by this is he introduced a new way of thinking about what it means to truly be healthy. Now, for example, if you get sick, and by the time you get sick, your body has already failed to keep you safe. And he looked into what we can do to prevent your body from getting to that point. He also introduced the concept of adaptability. Your body is constantly having to adapt to its environment. And when it fails to do so, it's a failure of the immune system to keep your body healthy. And this is where chiropractic really shines. So let's talk about the wellness journey. Every person has to go through this wellness journey when they're in pain. Okay, so first is the restorative phase. This is when a patient is in pain. This is when they generally walk in through the door, as many of you have. Very quickly, you'll go into the transitional phase. This is getting out of pain. This is when you begin treatment, and generally takes the longest time, but it also varies from person to person. One person can get adjusted with one adjustment, and all their symptoms can go away. Other people, it takes some time and repetition to get to that point as well. And then lastly is the wellness phase. And this is where you're staying out of pain. This prevents you from regressing back into when you first walked into the office. Now I'm going to pose a question. Which of these 3 phases do you think is the most important? I'll give a couple seconds to think about it. Is it the restorative phase when you're in pain? Is it the transitional phase when you're getting out of pain? Or the wellness phase when you're staying out of pain? If you guessed the third one, the wellness phase, that is correct, okay? Why? This is where your body is functioning optimally. And you're out of pain, you have increased mobility, your body's able to adapt to its environment to the best of its ability. And, it's important that when you get there, we get there together, that we do our best to stay there. And we do this by getting regularly checked and having, developing really healthy habits. Good. Let's talk about what is chiropractic. And for that, let's talk about what happens when you get a fever. Now, I really love this example because it really ties into, the philosophy behind chiropractic. Chiropractic is not just about back pain. It's let's hop into this fever example. So say you get some sort of infection. An infection enters your body, whether that be a viral one or a bacterial infection, and it causes a variety of different symptoms. General symptoms are you have coughing, sneezing, runny nose, watery eyes, um, but also you could have a fever. And the reason I distinguish between, these other symptoms, the coughing, sneezing, runny nose, watery eyes, from the fever is because those symptoms are the virus or the bacteria at work. Okay. The fever is your body's immune system trying to fight off the infection or, trying to fight it off. And it does it by raising the temperature in your body. Now, when you get any sort of foreign substance in your body, right? Any molecule, anything, your body does tries to do its best job to get rid of it in some way. With a virus or a bacteria, your body responds by raising the internal temperature and to make sure that it provides a poor environment for that infection to thrive in. Now, I want you to take a step back from that, now that you know that, and think about what do people usually do when they get a fever? They usually will say they're sick, and then they'll go to the doctor. And generally, when you go to the doctor, you get some sort of medication. Now, think about what the medicine is doing, right? The medicine is going to reduce all symptoms, including the fever. Essentially, it'll make it harder for your body to fight off the virus or bacteria. And this is why sometimes you have people who go 2 to 3 weeks of being sick because we're ultimately suppressing our own immune system with medication. Now, what does this have to do with chiropractic? And it's the immune response, the body's ability to fight off any foreign invaders and keep your body healthy. So when your body is unable to adapt to its environment appropriately, this is just walking throughout the day. This means that your immune system is not functioning the way it's meant to. It's not functioning well. I really like this example here. This is the flu pandemic of 1918. There was a 20 million deaths globally. And I point out these two topics, but first we have to realize this was during the time of pre-antibiotics and pre-vaccine era. So we didn't have any of that. But with that being said, what they observed was, and this wasn't a trial, it's just an observation, was that the death rate under those, under medical care was far higher than people under chiropractic care at that time. And it was significantly different. 1 in every 40 people versus 1 in every 10 people were dying in relation to each other. So what's going on here? How is that possible? What is it that chiropractors are doing that medicine wasn't doing at that time? And it's not so much that, it's more so just going back to the immune system. Okay. So the immune system of people who have been getting adjusted works better. And we'll go over exactly what that means and how that happens. Okay. And this is how you get all these amazing results from that. Okay. So your nervous system is the controller of your entire body, your brain, your spinal cord. And the healthier your brain and your nervous system are, the healthier you're going to be. Meaning you're going to be able to fight off infections and all sorts of things a lot better than other people if your nervous system is clear. Now, what chiropractors do is we work directly with the nervous system by adjusting certain segments of the spinal column to reduce nerve interference. Now, that's a lot of big words and a lot of stuff. We're going to dive into exactly what that means. So let's simplify it. This is a normal spine on the left. The normal thing that we want to see is we want these vertebrae, which are your backbones, to be nice and square shaped. We want it to be separated by this blue area. This is your discs. Okay, and we want this to be nice and big. But the other thing that I want you to look at is this hole here. This hole is where your nerve exits. We also want to have these nice curves in our spine to help protect our spine. Now, if we look at this on the right, this just goes into further detail. This is where that nerve exits. Okay, now the reason I keep pointing out the nerve is the nerve connects to either muscles or organs in your body. Now, if there's a misalignment, that nerve can become impinged, right, causing some kind of dysfunction to that muscle or organ attached to. Chiropractors work at reducing those misalignments so that that nerve can flow freely. And we're going to talk about what a misalignment actually looks like and what it's doing to your spine. So we mentioned the word subluxation. Okay. So a subluxation is just a misalignment of a vertebra that causes a variety of different issues. Okay. And this is just a great animation of it. But the one thing I really want to point out is as your bone becomes more and more misaligned, this hole right here, which essentially the nerve comes out of, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The other thing that's happening is this disc is really irritated, and it puts, pressure in areas that it sometimes can't sustain and will cause this area to degenerate. We want to definitely prevent that from happening. Now, these are the main things that can happen when you have a misaligned vertebra. Your disc can begin to swell. Your muscles, each bone is connected by a muscle. Your muscles can tighten in response to some sort of nerve interference. And these joints, all these bones have little joints that attach to each other that can become inflamed, causing you some pain. And then, of course, like we had mentioned before, the nerve interference, right? The misaligned vertebra can come, close down this circle right here, and impinge on this nerve, causing a variety of different systemic issues. Okay? And I bring up systemic issues because we're going to talk about the autonomic nervous system. So this is your nervous system at work, and this part mainly focuses on the things that automatically happen throughout your body. Breathing. You don't have to think about breathing; it just happens, right? Your heart beating, your digestive system, like the thyroid gland releasing certain hormones, a variety of different things. So this is your nervous system at work, and you have these signals that are sent from the brain to the body, but also from the body to the brain. Now, what happens when you have some sort of misalignment in your spine? That connection, either way, is slowed down or it can be disconnected in some severe cases. Now, we're going to go even a step further. Say if you have a misalignment in your C7 vertebra. These nerves go directly to your shoulders, your neck, but also to your thyroid gland. And it produces those hormones that regulate ultimately your body's metabolic rate, controlling your heart. It controls brain development and also overall bone maintenance. It's really important to make sure that that area is clear. Same thing with like your T9, right? Your T9 powers your adrenal glands, okay? And this produces the hormones that regulate metabolism, your immune system, and overall your response to stress. So it's really important that throughout the body, we're subluxation free. Now, there's a state of health and there's a state of when you're not in health, okay? And there's a very simple depiction. So this is a safety pin, and when the safety pin is closed, we'll say that there is a good connection between your brain and the rest of your body. And this is when health is possible, meaning you're able to heal, you're able to function appropriately. There's a clear communication of your nerves between the brain and the body. And the tissue cells of the body function as they were designed to, and the brain can properly control the rest of the body and regulate the body the way it's supposed to. If you're not healthy, this is represented by the unclasped safety pin. It's pretty much a disconnection, right? This is what we call ill health. Ill health is represented by the unclasped safety pin and is, a partial loss of nerve connection between the brain and the body. Essentially, this is when your spine is misaligned. Now, there's multiple little things that cause your spine to become misaligned. We call them subluxations, right? And that is the three T's. We call it the thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So thoughts such as stress. When you're stressed out, your muscles become very tight. That can throw your vertebra out of alignment and cause some sort of nerve impingement. It happens all the time. Traumas are the one that people most can relate to. That's car accidents, falls, sports traumas. We even go a step further and talk about some microtraumas. Microtraumas are things that like repetitive small movements, poor postural habits that we're doing day in and day out, bad sleeping habits, um, you know, sitting down, crossing your legs, things like that can cause your spine to become misaligned over long periods of time. And lastly, toxins. Exposing your body to certain toxins such as smoking, can really affect your overall body health. In the example of smoking, you're really putting a toll on your lungs. And when your blood is not able to oxygenate the rest of the body, those organs that it's supplying blood to is able to function well, have the proper nutrients to do so. So let's move on. Good. Good on time still. All right, let's talk about what to expect while under care. So there's four main things that we're going to talk about, and it's going to be about the adjustments holding. We want your adjustments to begin to hold. So when you're under chiropractic care, we're ultimately looking to see how your body responds to the adjustment. This is why we're consistently testing and tracking your muscles and your nerves, see what kind of changes have been made. And the goal is to get your body and your spine to become stable enough to go longer periods without getting adjusted. And this is when we refer to whether your adjustments are holding or not. Now, in regards to x-rays, right, the goal of x-rays is to first get a clear shot on your spine, right, to know exactly what kind of misalignments and, where your body is in space. Okay? We need to know exactly where and how to move those bones. But as we go through the care, your bones are going to start to change a little bit. Now, the goal is to make sure that your spine first is not getting any worse. And then along the course of treatment, hopefully to see some positive improvements. We really want to focus on those areas that are subluxated, those areas that are stuck. Go from maybe 4 or 5 subluxations to 2 or 3 subluxations. Everyone is different. Okay? And we also want to make sure that the curves in your spine are also improving and going in the proper direction. Fourth thing is re-exams. Okay, so re-exams are really, really important. Re-exams is a great time to see how your body is progressing over the course of any given treatment. And along with checking your pain scales and whether we're meeting your goals or not, we're also going to be taking muscle scans. So the myovision scan, the muscle scan, is really great at tracking your transition period. And you're going to see some fluctuations. You might get scanned one day and the first scan might be even a little bit higher. What we're seeing is that there's going to be changes throughout your body, but ultimately we want to see your entire nervous system calm down and be able to handle those adjustments and achieve a more optimal state. Now, that brings up the last point, which is achieving the wellness phase. This is the ultimate goal of chiropractic, is for you to reach the wellness phase. And to achieve the wellness phase, there's certain things that you really have to do, and it's really important. And a lot of it has to do with just following the exercise recommendations that we have for you at home, as well as the recommendations that we give you and the protocol to follow, that you guys follow those at home. It is essential. Okay. So say you're coming in 3 times a week. Once your body becomes more stable, we're going to drop you down to 2 times a week, then 1 time a week, ultimately once every other week, and then finally once per month, right? We want to make sure that we're constantly getting checked once we receive that, once we've given that wellness phase, so that we're not regressing. Okay. We went a little bit over time, maybe. We are ready for some questions. So thank you all for listening and attending. If you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them. Before we actually jump into questions, I want to say in 2 weeks, we're going to have another health talk. It's not going to be a new patient orientation. So on the third Wednesday of every month, we host a condition specific talk where we choose a common complaint that people have and we give health advice. And this month's topic is going to be on knee pain. So if you know anyone who has knee pain or if you're suffering from knee pain, please hop on that call, so they can get that information. Yeah, let me check the chat logs and get that going. Okay, so we have a question from Anson. Says, do chiropractors also treat wrist pain or ankle pain? Yes, we do. So pretty much chiropractors deal with areas that have joints, right? And we get those stuck areas moving again. But it's not only that, right? The nerves that come and innervate just means those nerves that connect to your hands and wrists, actually stem from your neck. And actually all these nerves that come out of your neck come down your arm and innervate these areas in your wrist. So, and same thing with your ankles, the low back, those nerves come all the way down and innervate the muscles and nerves in your ankles. So, there might be times when you have an ankle or wrist pain and we're going to be adjusting your low back or your CT junction. Because that's really going to help, alleviate some of the pain, some of the symptoms, and get those areas moving. We have another question. Is chiropractic good for pregnancy and how so? Chiropractic is excellent for pregnancy. So, a lot of times during, prenatal, right? When women become pregnant and they're starting to grow, they're going to increase a lot of weight. They're having to have a lot of weight near their abdomen. Now, that puts a lot of stress on your low back, a ton of stress on your low back. And it's very important that pregnant women get their spines checked and also adjusted if needed. A lot of times people who have low back pain prior to pregnancy will have exacerbations of pain, meaning their pain will get far worse after they become pregnant. Another thing is during pregnancy, women release a hormone called relaxin. So relaxin will generally it's a hormone that goes to your joints and really loosens them up. And it can really throw things out of alignment. So it's really important that throughout the pregnancy that, definitely get checked. Good, those were some really great questions. Good, just give it another minute. If anyone else wants to ask a question, that's great. Excellent. Seems like we don't have any more questions. Thank you for joining us today. Like I said, please join us in 2 weeks for our next health talk. And for many of you, we'll be seeing you in the clinic. See ya.